Hello, everyone. I thought I'd sit down and talk a little bit about the Slender Man movie that came out recently. The footage you're seeing here is from Slender the Arrival, which was a game that came out several years ago. I have a full playthrough of it up on my channel, which I'll link in the description and probably somewhere in the video here too, in case you guys want to watch the whole thing. But in any case, let's get on with the movie. Movie's really bad. That's a little too long. Didn't want to watch a version of it for you. I'll give you a little synopsis here. Movie's bad. It does weird things with camera angles. The editing is obviously horrible. The movie feels, and I'll elaborate on the fuller, more detailed thing. The movie feels like it was half of the movie it was supposed to be. Whole plot lines come up and then just vanish and never get completed, never have a conclusion, and it leaves the whole thing feeling really bad. Also, the movie is not scary in any way. All of the horror scenes are laughable. I was in the theater with my son, and there were a few other people in the theater with us, and we were all making fun of this movie the entire time. And every time it tried to be scary, we laughed at it. It was really bad. The writing is also not great. The acting is not especially good. And what they did with the Slender Man is also baffling to me, honestly. Based on everything else that they could have based their works on, they decided to come up with their own thing, which was horribly stupid. So that's the short of it. For a more detailed thing, I will discuss my background in Slender Man and the fiction around him. So I've been into the Slenderverse stuff, which is basically just any fiction that references the Slender Man or lives in the universe of established Slender Man stories. I've watched the big three Slenderverse online web series, basically as long as they've been around, which would be Marble Hornets, Everyman Hybrid, and Tribe 12. And I've also watched a few of the not big three, but still very good Slenderverse series of Dark Harvest, M.L. Anderson, and a series I don't think many people know about, but I thought was really good from a technical perspective, which was Caught Not Sleeping, which is a dead series, I think, but it was good when it ran. So honestly speaking, any of those big three, any of the guys who were responsible for the creation of the big three could do a better story for the Slender Man movie than whoever they keep hiring to do these stupid movies. Case in point, the plot for this game, as simple as it is far better than the plot for the Slender Man movie. And honestly, going into it, I didn't hear any reviews about it before going into it. However, I just kind of knew it wasn't going to be good. Because this is actually the third Slender Man movie that's been made. The first one was a movie called Always Watching, which was supposed to be a spin-off of the Marble Hornets web series, but it really wasn't. It was a kind of found footage film, but it kind of broke the rules of how found footage films are supposed to work, and it was all kind of garbage. To be fair, I've never actually watched it. I've only seen clips of it and watched other people talk about it. I kind of trust to know whether a horror movie is good or not, and they all said it's bad. The second one was a documentary that was made, I think, by HBO, which was highly exploitative. It centered around this real-life tragedy or crime that took place where these two girls got way too obsessed with the Slender Man, and they attempted to kill one of their friends out in the woods to try to summon the Slender Man. So now comes this movie, which actually, according to rumors, was heavily neutered because of that real-life crime that happened. So I'll put up some footage from the trailers here, and all the footage I'm showing you from these trailers are things that did not happen in the movie. And as I alluded to earlier, there are plot lines that kind of come up and then don't ever go anywhere, and they're largely where people are being affected by the Slender Man, and it's supposed to get to the point in the movie where he drives them crazy enough to where they die or kill themselves, and they never do. And it's because all of these scenes are taken out of the movie. Now, I think this is partly because it was going to be R-rated, and the studio didn't want it to be R-rated, from what I understand from rumors. So they dropped it down to PG-13. And to get it down from PG-13, they had to cut out basically anything that was actually scary in the movie, namely where the people die. And if you have a horror movie that's based around a monster that goes around killing people, and no one dies ever, the movie is a failure. The movie has failed to establish that this is a danger or a threat. So there you have that going on. And so I said part of it was because they wanted it to be PG-13, but I also think part of it was because they were kind of scared, I guess, from that real life crime, the tragedy that happened around Slender Man, that the movie would be seen as in poor taste. Honestly, don't think that's the case. I wouldn't feel that way about it. You can't let people taking something too far completely make it where you can't even do anything creatively with it anymore. I guess it depends on the situation, depends on what's happening, but if that's the case, that you can't do what you want to do with a property because something in the real world is over here affecting your ability to do that, then just don't do it. Just don't do it. Not to mention that this movie is years out of date. The Slender Man craze has died off for the most part. So the movie's not even timely. They couldn't do what they wanted with it because of past tragedies surrounding the mythos of the Slender Man. So it's just a failure in all points. And it got to the point where they couldn't even show this movie in theaters in the area where this real life crime had happened. None of the theaters anywhere near that area played this movie, which I guess was good. That was probably a good thing, but it just it just ends up making it where this is a nothing movie. Like, it's very disappointing. In any case, that's the kind of the overview of my thoughts about the whole movie. But we'll get into the plot and spoilers and what specific parts of the plot are really bad moving forward. So if you don't want spoilers for some reason, then fine. But this is where we're going into it now. So the movie starts out with the main characters being these 4 girls. The only ones whose names I remember are Katie and Ren. I don't remember our actual main character's name or the last girl in their group, but they're the main characters. They're at school, of course, in high school, and the group of boys that they like are all talking about the secret meeting they have planned for that night. And it comes out that secret meeting is a thing to summon the Slender Man. So the girls all get together that night and get drunk, as high schoolers tend to do. I know when I was in high school, I was getting drunk constantly. We had constant access to full balls of vodka all the time. But they all get together and they say, hey, we should summon the Slender Man. The boys are doing it. Why don't we do it? So apparently in this universe, the way you summon the Slender Man is to go to an online website and watch a video. And that lets the Slender Man know that you're interested and that you want to see him. I have no idea why they went away from the established mythos for the Slender Man in like every web series that's existed about him. That what happens is you come into contact with a person who is already being hunted by the Slender Man, and through that contact and interaction with that person, you become wrapped up in the Slender Man issue and you start becoming hunted by him as well, and it's kind of spreads like a virus that way. But they decided to instead make the Slender Man turn into Samara from The Ring, where you watch his evil video and then you die in 7 days. And I say that because the first girl, Katie, who disappears 7 days after watching the video. That the movie actually goes out of its way to point out that it happened 7 days later. And I don't know why they did that, but so Katie's whole thing was that her dad was a raging alcoholic. He was always drunk and passed out and never around to help her out. So she just wanted to be somewhere else. And the idea of him coming and like taking you away to his dimension somewhere else was appealing to her. And that's the thing. He either like kidnaps you and takes you to his realm, or he just drives you crazy and to the point where you kill yourself or do something bad. So he kidnaps her, and the other three girls are like, oh, this was Slenderman's fault. We have to find out what happened to her. So this is the first incredibly stupid thing in the movie. They go to her house and at night and see that her dad is passed out drunk in the living room. I couldn't say that for some reason. So their plan is one of them rings the doorbell until they wake him up, so that he comes to the front door, and then the other two people sneak in the back and go up to Katie's room. When they said this was what happened, when this happened in the movie, everyone in the theater laughed their ass off because it was so stupid. The entire movie was setting up the idea that he would be too passed out drunk from drinking, obviously, to even know that they were in there. So their plan is to wake him up out of it so that they could sneak in while he's awake and potentially get caught. It was mind-numbingly stupid. I don't know how anyone who wrote that thought that was a good idea or thought that made sense. I don't know how the producer or the director of the film or the editor didn't look at it and say, hey, this doesn't make any sense. What are you doing? But they didn't. So anyways, the girls sneak into Katie's room. She has your usual things that you would find from a Slender Man haunted person, the scribbles and the drawings and all of the cryptic writings and stuff like that. And they find her computer, and they find out that she's been talking to somebody online who seems to know a lot about the Slender Man. So they run off with that laptop that she had and get in contact with that person. The person tells them, all you have to do to try and save your friend Katie is you have to go out to the woods, sacrifice something you love to the Slender Man, and he will give you your friend back. He will give you a request, and that's the request, is to get their friend back. So they go out and they do it. The things they sacrifice are items that remind them of people that are now dead, or that they got from people that are now dead that they could never replace, and they destroy those items. And the Ren girl makes it very, very clear to the other two girls, you have to keep your blindfolds on. If you look at the Slender Man, you are toast. If you look at the Slender Man, he will haunt you until you die. So don't take your blindfolds off. So what happens? The first noise in the woods that's heard, one of the girls takes her blindfolds off, runs off. And then the other two take their blindfolds off to chase after her. So the first girl, she sees the Slender Man, obviously. The other two girls find her after that, and she's all screwed up because of seeing the Slender Man. So they leave. Obviously, their ritual failed. So anyway, because of this, that girl, I'm trying to think of a thing to call her to differentiate her. Stupid girl. Let's call her Stupid Girl because she took her blindfold off. The first snap of a twig in the woods, like that never happened. So in any case, Stupid Girl stopped showing up to school. The other two girls, the main girl, sees Slender Man out in the woods one day while this guy's trying to hit on her, and they make a date, even though she doesn't seem very into it. And the other girl, Rin, decides to go to the library. She goes to the library, finds out that the Slender Man is some kind of paranormal entity that has to do with bioelectricity that infects your mind or something like that. And that's what he's supposed to be, I guess. But then he attacks her at the library, but she gets away. And I have to say that the attacks by the Slender Man are not like actual attacks. What happens is, apparently he makes you hallucinate. It's really weird, scary things, I guess. And that's all he does. He doesn't actually attack you. He just makes you hallucinate things, and none of it's actually real. None of it's actually happening, which is lame, honestly. I like the way that they handle him in the YouTube web series better. But in any case, so she does that. She gets attacked. She leaves the library. The main girl goes over to the boy's house. They start making out. And then she starts hallucinating that the boy is doing this weird face while they're making out, and like has a head twitch thing going on, and it was super funny. Like all the people in the theater laughed their ass off about it, which is not the effect they thought. I think they thought that would should have been happening for that scene, but it's what everyone did. And he finds out, like, she starts freaking out, so he asks her what's wrong, and he finds out about the Slender Man thing, and he finds out about the video, and she's like, you have to promise me not to watch the video. He's like, okay, sure. Obviously, the first thing he does is watch the video as soon as she leaves his house. So they're all at school the next day. He shows up all brooding and scared and like all withdrawn and stuff, and she's like, I told you not to watch a video, and he doesn't say anything. And at that point, he's done. That's the last time you see him in the movie. As I said, plot threads get made, and then they just vanish. Because, as you could have seen in the trailer, the scene where he decides to kill himself because of Slender Man affecting him, they cut that from the movie. So the end of his plot line just vanishes from the film. Speaking of which, Stupid Girl, who hasn't been shown at the school for a while, they go over to her house at night and see her walking around as a zombie, like a zombie. She's not reacting to anything. She's not really doing anything. She's got these dark places under her eyes, and she's super pale. So she's obviously out of it. Again, in the trailer, they showed that she went to school and stabbed herself through the eye with a scalpel. That obviously does not happen in this movie. After they go to her house and see that she's completely out of it from Slender Man haunting, that's the last you see of her. She's never brought up again. You never see her again. Nothing happens with her. Yeah. So, what happened next that was stupid? Oh, yes. The main character's sister starts having seizures, and so they take her to the hospital. And she starts talking about the man without a face. So the main character obviously finds out that she is being haunted by the Slender Man. The main character has a incredibly long and drawn out and pointless and stupid hallucination at the hospital that I think took place over several minutes with nothing happening. So the main character goes over to Ren's house. Ren's about to throw herself out the window. The main character stops her from doing that, and then the main character starts going around through Ren's stuff and finds out. I think I could be incredibly wrong and confused about this because the movie doesn't explain it all. After this interaction with Ren never shows up again throughout the rest of the movie. Nothing ever happens with her, but the main character's poking around, and I think what you're supposed to get from it is. She goes on Ren's computer and sees a window open about this person that was at a mental institution before. And the person who was at the mental institution, part of the record said that they went by the screen name of the person who Katie was talking to when she first started infected by the Slender Man. And the same person who told them that they should go out in the woods and do this ritual that ended up getting them in even more trouble. And then she finds a video on Ren's computer where Ren apparently took her sister out to do the ritual as well. So I think what they were trying to say was Ren was the girl that was at the mental institution who got out, and as part of her being hunted by Slender Man, she goes and gets other people to be infected by Slender Man for Slender Man to go in after them and not attack her anymore because if they're as long as she's feeding him new victims, he won't come after her. I think that's what they were going for. However, everything that happened in the movie kind of made it out to be like she didn't, like, that's not the case. Like, she didn't know about the Slender Man thing. It wasn't her idea. It's never established at any point in the movie that it was her idea to do the Slender Man summoning stuff. It was someone else's idea. Like, the boys are the ones who came up with it, completely independent of her, apparently. And then the girls who found out about it weren't her either. And then the girls who suggested that they should do the video thing was not her either. So at no point did they go through the trouble of establishing that yes, she is the one who was setting all this up. In fact, they actually made it seem completely not that at several points. So I don't understand. if I'm just confused about that point, or if the movie just didn't explain things right, or if the plot was just that stupid and nonsensical, I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't help you there. So anyway, Ren drops this knowledge bomb that when you go out to the woods to do the ritual of sacrificing something you love, it's not enough to just give a thing. The thing that what Slenderman really wants is people. He wants people to sacrifice and people to take with him. So the main character gets in her head, if she goes and sacrifices herself to Slenderman, Slenderman will stop coming after her sister. I have no idea why she thinks that, or what in her head made her think that he would honor that kind of bargain. He has at no point been consistent or something that you can understand, that they know nothing about him at all. They don't know how he works, they don't know how he operates, they don't know the rules. He never talks to them at any point, so I don't know how anyone knows any of this stuff about him. But she goes out there thinking that. So she goes out in the woods, he shows up, she says, I'm ready for you to take me now. I'm ready for you to take me. She never specifies, so you'll leave my sister alone. I guess that's just implied somehow. So he turns into a giant spider monster thing, and then she runs away. So the girl who, I want to reiterate this just in case it passed you guys by. The girl went out there with the plan to honorably sacrifice herself for her sister, tell Slenderman, hey, I'm here, you should take me, and as soon as he goes to take her, she runs away scared. For some stupid reason. It completely destroys all the nobility of the act that she was out there to do. I don't know why they did that. If you're going to have the main character sacrifice themselves, they have to do so in a brave and honorable way. They have to do it in a way that makes them look like a good person or a brave person, but no, they don't do that. In any case, the Slenderman backs her up to a tree. Then Slenderman is the tree, and he absorbs her into himself. I don't know why that's his method of doing it, but it is, I guess. Then it cuts to her sister in the hospital, who knows that this has happened, and I think the implication is that now her sister is actually safe from the Slenderman somehow. And then there's this pretentious speech about the Slenderman being a virus, and this movie is in itself counterproductive to just feeding the Slenderman because it's only spreading his message. Stupid. The writing in that closing dialogue, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was incredibly dumb. I just remember thinking it was the dumbest thing I've heard at the end of a movie, and it seemed like it was just slapped in there as a something to do at the end of the movie because of them having to cut everything else out of the movie. So that's the film. That's what happens. A whole lot of nothing. The only person you ever see die is the main character when she gets absorbed in the tree. Everyone else kind of vanishes. Yeah. So, as I said earlier, I think if you need a really bad horror movie that you can make fun of with your friends, this is a prime candidate. If you're looking for a movie that is actually a horror film that will in any way be scary to you or cause you to be afraid, if horror movies do that to you at all, this is not it. Do not watch this movie. Any case, that's all I have to say about it. I thank you all for joining me, and I hope to see you guys again. Bye-bye.